the universe is at your feet. Rejoice. Beloved friends, once more I've got the grand pleasure of being with you all. Once more I attempt to peer into the window, joining you. And this time I should also like you to peer into the window of my world a bit, that we've got a form of mutual exchange thus. And I share with you that which betwixt lies is to all of you as commonplace. There be some here who do ask and wonder, are there angels really? Now that I'm on the metaphysical path, I've been divested of my old Christian concepts, of the angels strumming harps and the like. But dear ones, as you well know, the tendency at times is to throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say. But when you find out there's no hell really, and trust that you don't have this great figure with a long white beard judging the quick of the dead, then one tends to think, well, then that means all of it is false, a farce, certainly. There is no theology. It is not that I've been shown or led to believe. And I suppose that lovely little concept of angels flitting about must also go, so there it goes out the window. Dear ones, pray, don't be so hasty. No, there'll be angels, all right. There'll be angels. May I speak of them? Who are these angels? What are they indeed? Yet, I must preface my descriptions with a very frank admittance that in a sense, though now I come before you claiming that there be angels, and yet, to speak it quite honestly, I don't know that I know a whole lot more about them than I did, whilst I was in my flesh. But, for, you see, the universe continues to be a mystery. Not a mystery that can't be solved. Not a mystery that some fiendish mind somewhere is delighted in keeping from all of us. No. But rather a mystery until one encompasses that angle, as it were, of creation. And suddenly, lo, it is a mystery no more. Angels. The first angel that I believe I did espy once brigading into the world of spirit did me a very singular favor. Indeed, I'd been wondering myself, hadn't seen any. I'd seen my mum and a few other people and a lot of the old friends, the friends and colleagues of my youth and even of my maturity. But then I was allowed to, of course, have the lovely quiet time that is so precious here. Finding myself amidst the most splendid gardens, dales, hills, ever changing, the clouds, the sky, everything important, as it is good. And lo, I did think, well, there you are. Heaven, I suppose, pretty close to it. Could not, for what but another thing. Fulfillment indeed. And suddenly I thought, but what are the angels? I've not seen one yet. Don't tell me that was all a farce. I myself wondered, which is why I share with you your curiosity. And lo, did appear before me a point of light, a very small point of light, mind you, right in front of me, perhaps would appear to have been 10 feet before me. And that point of light danced merrily about, and then it held still, and suddenly it began to, this might not be quite the word, but flesh out. What am I to say? It began to fill out from that point, and it gradually grew a face around it, a very lovely face. Absolutely androgynous, mind you. For the life of me, I couldn't tell, is this man, woman? It kept shifting, just when I thought it was the loveliest female face, I saw the strong features of the gentleman. But then, lo, it was so beautiful and so feminine in its grace that I thought, it must be a woman. But then came that power that it was so masculine to my understanding. What was I to think? At one point I abandoned it and said, let it be what it will. It continued to go on. Mind you, I myself, having sat in countless materialization seances, had watched the build-up of forms, but generally from the bottom up in ectoplasmic structure. And here was this one, just out of thin air, no ectoplasm visible, but suddenly getting greater and greater and greater. The interesting thing was that the point of light from whence it had begun remained. And as you might guess, it was right in the center of the forehead. That remained, as the rest of it kind of filled out, till indeed I had a magnificent being before me, enjoying my surprise. This being, my thought, as we often communicate there, said to me, well, are there angels? And I immediately, and rather involuntarily, I might say, rather bowed and said, indeed, I see you. That being continued to instruct me for quite some time. And before I knew it, we seemed to be in a rather earthly surrounding. And the being showed me that though it had built up around this point of light, that it never stopped being the point of light, that in a sense the build-up was for my benefit, that I might perceive it as my senses have been accustomed to do. And as we seemed to pass through earthly marts and streets and that, I noted with the aid of this being that every single person that I saw suddenly seemed transparent. And indeed, each one held also the point of light. But the point of light was not always what it had been with my angelic guide. At times it appeared to be at the base of the spine. Other times right in the belly. Other times in the center of the chest, and it wasn't long before I recognized the familiar chakra system being employed, though I saw no chakras per se. And then we were whisked to a place in the Orient. I believe it might have been in Tibet. And there, in a very classical meditational pose, sat a gentleman, a soul, attention fixed inwardly, and the point of light was right on the top of his head. And you see, by sheer demonstration, I began to get the point. What the being was letting me know was that we are all of us but points of awareness. And for the purpose of experience, of course, growth, learning, love, we project, as it were, this outer thing called the body, and we move amidst what appear to be very solid forms in a very solid world. And yet the whole of it is, like a movie, really. To illustrate my point, my friends, won't you gaze at the hills that are behind the body I am borrowing? There will be hills in the distance. Won't you look at those hills? And though I'm certain you know them to be as solid as the rock of Gibraltar, and any one of you if possessed of an automobile, within a quarter of an hour could no doubt be rambling in those hills. And yet I say that if you care to, right now, you might look at those hills and notice how they are but a thought form as well. Hills in your mind. You are mesmerized, self-mesmerized, and you are telling yourself there are hills there, and so you seem to perceive them. Bringing your focus a bit closer, pick one of the lovely and towering structures outside, one of those buildings. Oh, solid all right, you'd say. Couldn't pass through its walls. Don't think you can. But I say that if you really look at any one of them, and just slightly unfocus, or shall I say, take a step backwards into yourself, you can see, you can perceive how any one of those structures or buildings are but thought forms. Thought forms indeed. Thoughts that someone dwelt upon, no doubt teams of people dwelt upon until they, you might say, shifted into the material world, and now they appear to be solid, but are thoughts nonetheless, which you are all of you agreeing to acknowledge. And of course, bringing it yet a bit closer, you are, if you care to see it like that, not that body you are attempting to balance, but you yourself are at a point of light. Focusing this outer dream, as it were, that you hold a body, that you are literally are sitting in it. Some you might believe you are that body, erroneously. Friends, ye are all of you as points of light, even as I, even as my angelic ministrant was and is and remains. I am but a point of awareness. But as in earth I was able to, through thought, project the physical body. Now here, whilst my mediumistic friend has taken his leave, I could say of his senses really, I, playing upon his subconscious mind, can mold it at will, and lo, I do so. And I project, well, something of a facsimile of the way I was whilst last in flesh, my most recent memory. And you all, understandably, wanting to know, well, who was this soul, you know, names being so very important in this world. So I throw it out, all right, what do you want, a name? Conan Doyle, how's that? You want a handle? You got one. But as you say, it's a big deal. But friends, do see that if you can hold the vision that I do lay before you, you can begin to note how it is to that point of light then that one attempts to return to in what is called meditation. One attempts to withdraw from the dream, from the projection, from the hologram, and to simply be again that point of light. When you are in meditation, you don't necessarily take your body with you, neither even your spirit body, if you really. You might perceive something, you might go somewhere, you might even fancy yourself having conversations with others, all of it. And yet you don't necessarily think about dragging a body along. It's not necessary. So then, lovely indeed is the freedom that comes when we begin to re-identify who and what we truly are. And then grasping this, how foolish it is to take anyone really at face value. How foolish to look at someone and physically, immediately, judge them strongly this way or that. When indeed you are but seeing their projection, which is serving their purposes at this particular time. And God bless them. Consciousness then, friends, consciousness. The lovely thing that perhaps comes closest to what we truly and we, each one of us, as points of light, making up the grand consciousness of that thing we call the Almighty. Returning to my original point as to angels, angels then become those points of light that know themselves not in corporal bodies, for they rarely take such, but as literally the agents of the inner will of that powerful engine that is projecting and sustaining the whole of it, ourselves obviously included. Angels then, being those beings that simply keep the machine functioning, as it were, in all quarters and upon all dimensions. Angels then is intelligences that can be invoked, that can be commanded, mind you, though to some I know that might hint of arrogance. And yet I say they take no offense at it at all. For instance, let us say that as a conscientious parent, your child who were to be at a distance, perhaps on a field trip or what, and suddenly you began to get an uncomfortable feeling, that it would not be at all out of order to rally to the occasion, focus your attention powerfully, centered, and speak out. I call now to the grand and holy angels of protection, those that protect life everywhere, life and limb, that protect love where it is. And I command you to go forth and surround my child thickly and repel any and every possibility of danger and keep my beloved one safe and secure. I call it forth and I command it done now in the full power and recognition of the authority of the God that I am. Lo, it is done. Such a command, friends, is not in any wise an infringement upon the free will of the angelic ministers. On the contrary, you are aiding them in fulfilling their essential function. I believe it was in the Old Testament, the prophet Isaiah, that the quote much misunderstood lies. It says, the Lord saith, command ye me. To many this would seem absurd. Why in the world would the Almighty tell these little insects of the day, as it were, command ye me? And yet that is how it is. The greatest servant is the greatest ruler. So come to know, dear ones, that you've got angels at your beck and call. Yea, that the universe indeed is at your feet. That such is our creation, and such is our glory. And such are my thoughts for you on this lovely, lovely Sunday, when you gather to contemplate, to bless and be blessed, to love and be loved, for that is your essential nature. Great is the love we hold for you all. Greater still, as you can encompass it. For lo, the greatest love of all awaits you. And that, I believe, is good news. God bless you, dear ones. May your day be full of music and love and peace. Amen.
if to prove his point, when Sir Arthur just withdrew, and when I opened my eyes, he left me hooked in something, and I looked, and I was looking at the room right underneath us, looking right through that floor. And then it kind of filled in, and now I see all this. For those of you that don't know much about the history of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he spent many years researching spiritualism before he came out and said, "This is real." Even then, he was greatly maligned, actually, believe it or not. Here he had been a man of letters, very accomplished, very, very well respected worldwide, and to most people, considered a very down-to-earth person, and in the very conservative Victorian society in which he moved. And suddenly, here he comes saying that he believes in ghosts, spooks, that he believes in people coming back from the dead and all these things, which the more academically inclined kind of people, of course, to this day, still think is crazy. So he risked that. The way he's often drawn the analogy between himself and Shirley MacLaine, how she had been doing her thing for quite some time before she came out with it. That a lot of her friends warned her not to, even a lot of his friends warned her not to say, "Oh, you're kidding, you'll ruin yourself, your reputation will go down the drain, blah, blah, blah." And they both basically said, "Well, then so be it, but I feel like that message saying, and somebody will hear it." So we have to understand what happens. We told this story, because it's hard to ascertain, it's got to be called a legend. We told a story about Lord Gautama Buddha, who, I suppose for 49 days sat under this Bodhi tree and became enlightened. He kept going in and in and in and in and in and in, spiraling until he hit absolute nirvana, total realization and liberation from the round of rebirth, and was there in this incredible glory we're led to believe. But then from that point he heard the cries of earth. He heard people, the pain and such, and realized he did not need to go down there. And that apparently there are those who, on that level, said there will always be cries on earth, for this cycle, because people are learning the lessons that to bring that about. And but yet he decided to come back, and that he began to descend the levels of things, focusing. And when he hit the astral world, the world of total illusion and Maya and all that all of these beings came to him, what we could even call them demons, all these beings came in and said, don't listen, don't bother, man, really, it's just not worth it. They're not worth it, just really, they won't listen to you. I mean, look down there, they're acting like animals down there. You're this great being. Once you get down there, once you get back in their body, that's it. You're going to be down there. And they won't understand you. They will not understand you. Look at the auras. Look at yours. You're that incredible expanded consciousness. They're not going to understand a word you say. And they said that he wavered, actually. He wavered. But fortunately for us, he said, some will understand. And he animated his hand and he struck the earth and he came into consciousness. To this day, you can sometimes see statues of Gautama Buddha in meditation. His hand is like that. He's touching the earth. As he brought it down. He's connected with the sun sign of Taurus, by the way, which is of course a very fertile sign. He locked it in. And he said, some will understand. And now, of course, as you know, we've got millions and billions of Buddhists. So apparently they did understand, didn't they? And I think that's a real lesson for all of us. That's a lesson that I'm sure Shirley MacLaine thought about, and Arthur Conan Doyle thought about, and then we get to think about. I mean, I'm sure none of you have any thoughts of turning back at this point, but we all decide, and that's our own free will. We all decide, for ourselves, how open we are to it or not. I think it was yesterday I was having a conversation with some people, and they were talking about how it was so hard for this one person to tell her parents that she was into metaphysics. And I'm going, what? This is so foreign to me, this concept, That she actually thought she would, I don't know what, lose her place in the family or something. I just don't know. But I mean, that it goes to show how, by degrees, relatively speaking, because I've been doing this work for so long, and it's just become constantly what I do, that the thought of not being able to, that someone being afraid to tell their mother, their father that they're, that they're in metaphysics is absurd. It's just like, it's a joke. But apparently not. And I have to learn to be sensitive and take that seriously and realize that other people, it's a very important thing. That if they come out and tell their folks somewhere back home or here or wherever, that they risk, I guess, being ostracized. Their whole family's jumping. Hard to believe, but I guess that's the truth. So anyway, thank you for that. And we'll see you next round.